Well, welcome. Thank you.
I'm
Thanks
scared
for
of
coming.
Greg, honestly.
Yeah, me too. Keep your cell phones away.
Socials afterwards, though. And
Photos right now are fine.
Oh yeah, take photos.
Well, you mostly have filmmakers here. Yeah, student filmmakers. Some actors possibly. So we only get 20 minutes with you, so I want to talk as much as we can. I'm only the lucky one that got to see it already last Friday, and it was delightful. How did this project find its way to both of you? How did it get to you?
Well, I read the script about 4 years ago, and it was a script that I immediately fell in love with. Mm-hmm. I think as a young woman, this kind of opportunity doesn't come around too often, where you can lead a film and be funny at the same time. And the idea that it's really about a female friendship was something that like really, really attracted me. And then I sort of just like a lot of projects, they sort of like, sometimes it takes a long time for them to get made, and then you're sitting there waiting for it to happen. And Olivia then came on 2 years later, and she immediately wanted Beanie for the project. And then...
Had you worked with Olivia before?
I hadn't. I first read the script about 3 years ago, and for a role that no longer even exists in the film, I was like maybe going to be auditioning for, and I just was so taken with it. And then I got a call that Olivia Wilde wanted to have a lunch with me, and I was like, what is happening? My brain is exploding. And she's talking, and she had the most incredible pitch for the film, which is she wanted it to be like training day for high school. She was like, high school is so high stakes. And I think a lot of people, and a lot of films that are made by older people, kind of look down on that, or they patronize that concept of like, oh, that's so silly that you cared about that stuff. But she was like, when you're in it, it feels like war. So I was so enthralled with this like vision she had for the movie, and the way that she wanted to really validate those stakes and how intense high school can feel, and also make it super funny at the same time. And then she was like, Anne, I want you to be Molly. And I was like, Molly? Oh my God, that's one of the two. And I was so excited because I am such a fan of Kaitlyn. So it was this one. So I was just like overwhelmed with joy and gratitude.
And your chemistry is amazing. I mean, it's just, and it truly is about your friendship. I mean, in all the tropes of high school and finding someone to fall in love with, it's really about you too, which is so lovely. My husband came with me, he walked away, he's like, that is the best cast movie I think I've ever seen. You know, I mean, everybody is just so spot on. So when you take this, and you've been waiting around for 4 years, and then you wait around for another year or two before it gets made, how do you, when you finally are like, okay, it's green light, go, how do you approach your role? What do what are the first things you do when you take a script?
Ooh, well, normally I like to really know the script like the back of my hand, especially for this one. I had never talked so much in a movie. I had never been in, we were really in every scene of this movie, and that had never happened to me before. I also just wanted to take it really seriously because we also, and Beanie as well, but we had never led a film before. So it was really, really awesome to have the chance to like do that with someone and hold my pup's hand the whole time. But it was, I just really wanted to do my character Amy justice, really. And then the chemistry is so important in the movie, so I guess it's just, I mean, well, we hadn't met, and you never really know. So you're given a script and you're like, okay, this is gonna be your best friend for the next 2 months. But it was sort of just luck that we ended up really falling in love with each other, essentially. And you can't really fake chemistry. So that was really, really great that we really got along. And then we lived together for the shoot. Yeah, we were sitting at lunch with Olivia. It was our very first lunch.
Very first time.
And Olivia was like, oh, that'd be great if you guys could live together. And we're like, but wait, hang on, back up 1 second.
We would love to do that. Maybe do that, please?
And she made it happen. And we lived together.
Also, to your point, we have to give a huge shout out to Allison Jones, who's our casting director. If you've ever seen Veep, Bridesmaids, Parks and Rec, Freaks and Geeks, I mean, she casts every comedy that you're obsessed with, whether it's TV or film. And she's so genius, and not just bringing us on board, but the entire ensemble cast. It's such a ridiculously incredible ensemble. Just you wait till you meet all these people. And a lot of people that had never been in films before, or she finds these gems, and her collaboration with Olivia is incredible. So if you guys are filmmakers, your casting director is such a crucial part of the process, and we are so thankful for AJ, because she's just
Olivia also allowed us to be a part of that casting process. Like,
neither of us had ever done that.
No, we had never been behind the camera during an audition, but it was really incredible that Olivia and Allison let us be a part of it. But
I was in New York and Kaitlyn was in LA, so I read with everyone that was auditioning in New York, and Kaitlyn read with everyone that was auditioning
that's
in
awesome.
LA.
You read with them? I mean, they had to probably be kind of like awestruck when they walked in the room too, like, oh my gosh, this is who I'm reading with?
I was. There were so many. I was. It was crazy.
We were intimidated. We'd like call each other, like, that's so scary. They're incredible.
Yeah. But no, that was really great.
Yeah.
So when you're working, so you've worked with a ton of directors, right? You both have been acting for a long time, you know, and so. What is the best director for you? And you have to, I don't mean names, but I mean, who's approaching you as an actor? You know, how do they approach you and get you to do what, you know, do you get to rehearse with them? I mean, there's not a ton of rehearsal time, I know, in a lot of, you know, indie films and such.
Olivia was incredible because she is an actor herself, and also a producer and an activist and so many other things, but because she's had a 15-year career as an actor, she kind of created the set that she would have wanted to have as an actor. So for us, it was like incredible because we were on an actor's dream set.
Which is what? What is an actor's dream set?
So she made rehearsal a priority. The two of us rehearsed a ton together, but then we'd rehearse like us and Mason or us and Victoria, and we would add one or two other people, other castmates, so that we could rehearse with them. But also we got to rehearse at the locations a lot of the time, which is something that she fought for, and her and Scott, our first AD, who's a legend in the industry.
Well, it really does make a difference when you're like making a movie and then you're supposed to show up to your childhood bedroom.
And you're like, what's this thing I'm looking at right now?
And we were able to like rehearse in this space, which never happens. You don't have a lot of time. Well, we didn't. I don't know how she did it.
We had 26 days to shoot the film.
Wow, that including rehearsal time?
Yeah, no, just filming. So we had about like 2 weeks before rehearsals, but not really.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't usually get that opportunity.
No, and that was something she fought for. And Scott, our first AD, he shot The Revenant, and he's like a legend, first AD. And so he was, him and Olivia were such incredible collaborators in creating a really actor-friendly schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so when you get the script, right, what are the first things you do with it? Like when you look at it to find your heart of your character?
Read it 1,000 times.
I think I just want to know it like the back of my hand, especially this one. There was a lot of room for improv. It depended on the day, really, and the scene and the person that we were doing a scene with. Our writer, Katie Silberman, was literally a woman
She's
genius.
a unicorn.
I literally have never met anyone smarter than her. She's ridiculously talented. It's stupid. It's like her ideas, her brain, I don't even know how it works. She just constantly had outlines.
She's this little pixie, and you're just like, how do you do this? You're like this big.
Small and compact.
And her and Olivia, their friendship and their collaboration was like such inspiration for us. Like we were like, I hope Molly and Amy grow up to be them.
So what was that like watching them work together and stuff with you on set? Like you're improvising at certain times, but then something's not working. Because comedy, obviously, you got to make sure it works, right, in front of an audience.
It was also, it was never really about like making sure a joke landed, because the comedy, their intelligence is what is funny about this movie. They're not like being silly and, you know, acting dumb or whatever. They're just, their intelligence is what's funny.
Yeah. It was also always about, the movie is a relationship movie, which you guys will see when you watch it. It's so funny. It's so funny. But it's at its core, it's a relationship movie. So what I think Katie and Olivia both wanted was that they wanted each scene to feel just real. And life can be like so insanely funny, or it can be like more weird, or it can be emotional or awkward or whatever you needed for the scene. So I feel like they set they shared their tone and they shared their vision, not just with the actors, but with every crew member, every head of department. And so everyone really had the same artistic vision for the piece that started with Katie and Olivia, and then they, kind of shared it.
It was also just great to see, because they are like real best friends in life too, so it was nice to sort of mirror that in our scenes as well.
So they brought that kind of energy to the set.
Yeah, they really
best
did.
friends making a best friend movie is a really nice thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how did this set compare to other ones you've been on, though, that demanding-wise or rehearsal-wise and such? Like, what were other ones like that you've been on in the past?
I think just like Kaitlyn said, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I've been very lucky to support other journeys in films, but I've never been a part of leading the journey of a film. And so the demand was completely different because you're like, we were, as Kaitlyn said, we're in every scene. So
We also had to learn Mandarin for this movie, as you will shortly find out.
I'm not good at languages, so that was definitely hard. And I don't want to give anything away. There's like
No, there's so much.
there's a fantasy sequence in the film that required a lot of external rehearsing, preparation.
There's a lot of one-offs in the film in a great way. Like
in an incredible way. I think that's what, Olivia always says, why, when you're thinking about making a movie, why is it a movie? Why isn't it a short story or a book or a podcast or something else? And so she really wanted to use, even within the genre of like teenage comedy, she wanted to use the cinematic form to really enhance the story. So I think you guys will see that when you watch it, that it really has some really bold, incredible cinematic moments, even though you don't often expect that from this genre.
Yeah, some really odd ones too, and you're like, whoa, I mean, it takes you, but the fact that it happens so often, like you get to be inside these characters' minds through these ways, that it makes it really unique and really special.
Definitely.
Because this really blew up at South by Southwest, right? I mean, it was a huge success, right? How was that? Like kind of going in to see it and seeing how...
It was crazy. I think that we all sort of had a passion for this story, and I think for everything that I've done in the past, I never go into it with any expectations, just because you just literally never know with films. But I had some idea that I had a little inkling that this was going to do really well and people were going to love it, and it was crazy. The theater was like 12. There were like 1,200 people in the theater. Wow. And the energy, you can just like feel it. It was our first time seeing it together and with an audience. It was wild. People really loved it. And the reactions we were getting after were really, really like moving.
Yeah.
What did people say?
We had this girl, we did a Q&A after we screened the film, and there was this girl who came up and she started talking. She wasn't emotional, and then all of a sudden, like halfway through her question, she like all of a sudden got really like when emotion like catches you off guard, and she kind of like her throat, a little water moment.
Excuse me.
Excuse you. But she, in the middle of my emotional story.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Oh, look at these gorgeous mugs. So this girl comes up and she's like asking a question. All of a sudden she gets really emotional. And she was like, I gave my valedictorian speech at my high school, and I looked out and I didn't know one person in the audience. And I was so moved by this film, and I wish I could have been seen like that when I was in high school. And my character gives the valedictorian speech in the film. And we were just, Kaitlyn and I were like clutching each other, and we were so honored and moved that this film, what I love about it is you have so much fun when you watch it, and then all of a sudden it kind of like hits you in the heart, and you're sort of taken aback because you were so invested in their friendship, and every peak and valley of that is really, you're kind of on the edge of your seat waiting, even though we lived it, so we know what happens.
That moment was really reminded us why we made the film, essentially. It was really cool.
Because walking away from it, that's exactly what you feel. The themes today of students who, I have 3 kids, and so I see like the pressure of being that valedictorian or being that and forgetting everything else. Yeah. And that resonates, I think that's one thing beyond the friendship and the chemistry, that there's this idea of how much pressure students are in and how much they forego of being kids.
Definitely. I'd say it's really a lesson in like letting go, not of your your intellect or anything like that. Like, I love these girls are so self-confident and so self-assured, but it's letting go of the pressure or the goal orientation, like, you know, the need to just hit a mark or check a box.
Right.
They work their entire high school lives to get into the best college possible. And in reality, like, your college experience doesn't necessarily have to define who you are and who you will be for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Nor does that getting into that school have to mean, you know, like that is success or not success, right? And I think the one thing too is interesting about this film is that so many films in high school, there's a bad guy, you know, and there's this awful, awful crowd, and it feels like everyone's real and they're hypersensitive. It's a way of it being a comedy, but there isn't that like, oh, that's the villain. You know, it's almost they've built this up that it would be. I think it's a different way of looking at high school.
I mean, if anything, my character, you'll soon see, is a piece of work. She is, especially at the beginning of the film, she's actually the most judgmental person in the film. And I think that's what the movie does so brilliantly is it introduces all these characters you're about to see in like 10 minutes. And it uses what, as an audience member, you project onto them, because through media we are taught to see that's the smart girl, that's the hot girl, that's the dumb girl, you know. And then throughout the film, it like completely flips it on its head, but it's using that archetype that you're projecting as a tool, and then it's going to completely surprise you. And I think both characters learn about their own multidimensionality, but also really learn about how everyone around them, all these people that they ignored for almost 4 years, has really been complex and real and human, and this entire time, and that we should learn to look past a book's cover and really get to know people, and how if you let people in, they're really going to surprise you.
And I think that's really what you come away with when you're done with this. You're like, they are multidimensional people, and they're allowed to be. For all of our writers and directors out there and stuff, like taking those tropes and turning them and spinning them, and how can you create something original? Right? Because that's what it felt. It felt like I have not seen that high school story done that way before.
Yeah.
As you said, your character is probably the most demonic of all at the beginning, you know? Like she's the toughest character.
She's like tearing through those halls. Absolutely. And you know, Molly Gordon, who plays AAA, who's, when you meet her, she's in like little hot shorts, and she's like talking about not having like pockets in her shorts, and you immediately project onto her like, oh, that's the dumb hot girl. And she's actually the voice of reason of the film, and she is so grounded, and my character ends up learning so much from her, and I love that. Like, our characters are so smart, but they're not always wise. And I think that the title of the film is so apt, because it's the journey of them becoming more than just book smart.
And I also think your love story is so touching too throughout it. I mean, it's this beautiful young lesbian love story throughout it, and she's almost in that way of, you know, she's obsessed with something she can't have. And we're all hoping it happens, and I won't give it away. But it was such a magical relationship.
It really is. It does feel magical, and I feel really, really honored to play a girl where her sexuality is not her defining characteristic. I think that's like really monumental and just awesome. And I also love that Amy is not only the only gay character in this film. The sexuality in this movie is very fluid, and I think that really, really beautifully represents the generation that I think we're all living in right now, which is really great, and just further props to Olivia.
Absolutely, and in fact, like you said, it's not about that, right?
Yeah, there's no coming out story. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really great.
Awesome. So do we have questions then? We have questions lined up?
Oh, nice. Oh, there's a mic.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
My name's No.
The production of this whole thing is so thought out. It's really good.
That's my phone. I think I'll
Yo. Oh, hello there.
Hello.
All right. My name's Nick, and I was wondering, were there any notes in particular that either of you got from Olivia that like resonated with you throughout the entire shoot? anything particular that she said that has stuck with you or really molded your character from pre-production?
I feel like Olivia was really, really collaborative all the time, and it was never just, never felt like she was really like giving us some serious notes that were like set in stone, and it was like her way or the highway or something. It was always a really good dialogue. I do remember a piece of advice that I got from her, and I think it's a piece of advice that she has gotten from another filmmaker that she's worked with. But she told me once in talking to her about wanting to direct my own stuff someday, but she said to me, she said, make only the movie that you want to make. And I really love that, and that really resonated with me. Yeah. Cool.
I was just so struck by her confidence. This is her feature directorial debut, and it was like watching someone who was destined to do something. Like, she just had this innate, earnest, like confidence just like seeping out of her. And as you know, I was really kind of nervous to play my character. She's really intense, and I was trying to figure, navigating that energy within a comedy and still wanting her to be silly and loose and sort of navigating that tone and making sure it was balanced. I just was so lucky. I think we both just felt so lucky to have Olivia leading this movie, because she just was so confident. When she said we have it, I just believed her. There was never a moment where I was like, no, please, like, can we do it again? Or I don't know. It was like, well, great. It was just such an ease and a confidence and a true collaborative spirit, as Kaitlyn said, that I will try to emulate if I ever have the privilege of directing someday.
You both mentioned that. But you guys think about that, the directing and doing your own stuff?
Yeah, I kind of thought about it as though, I really thought that I couldn't be a director because I wasn't that great of a writer, which is just, now I know because of Olivia telling me, no, that's not true, that it's not true and that's not the case. I was telling her that I was like, Oliv, I always have all these ideas and I want to put them somewhere. And she said, well, do it. And I said, I always listen to songs and I think of a great, an idea for this specific song that I love so much. And she was like, well, go make music videos. And she just gave me the extra confidence that I needed. Mm-hmm. It was always just kind of in the back of my mind. And now,
almost that permission.
Yeah, it was, yes,
mm-hmm.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And she really did that for me.
Same with you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I now only work with 34-year-old actor turned director females. I literally, not kidding. I had the privilege of working with Greta Gerwig and Whitney Cummings and now Olivia. And I'm like, well, my 34th birthday, I mean, there it is. I have to do it. But you can't, it's sort of like, you can't sit there and watch these women who are such exceptional actors thrive as directors. I mean, soar as directors and not be inspired. There's just no way to sit there and just be like, it was jaw-dropping to watch both of them and in all of them in such a unique way, just really find their voice in the world, and I'm deeply inspired by that.
And they seem to take such personal projects too, doing it. Mm-hmm.
Like Kaitlyn said, Olivia said, you only can make the film you can make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hi. Okay. As an aspiring female director, it's really cool to hear that the film doesn't follow into those basic tropes of the mean girl or the cool girl in high school. So how was it to be a part of the process in a movie that would change that narrative?
Such a good question. Well, I feel like we did think about it a lot in the sense of hair, costumes, makeup, never even production design, never wanting to fall into some trope of what a smart girl had to look like, sound like, dress like. And in that way, I was really in awe of April Napier, who was our costume designer, and Aubrey and Liz, who are heads of hair and makeup, and in that we all were, again, collaborating, in obviously led by Olivia, in creating girls that were just cool, smart, positive women that even though just because they were smart didn't mean they had to wear glasses or wear a certain skirt or look a certain way. And, you know, even at the very beginning of the film, you meet these two girls, they're best friends. They couldn't be dressed more differently. They have their own style, their own look, you know. So I think in that sense, we were, like, I remember in our fittings, we were always like, is this too on the nose? Is this too, like, what you're expecting?
I almost wore glasses, but then we were like, no,
we don't need it.
We don't need that. Yeah.
So in that way, it was really collaborative. But I mean, I think Katie Silverman, our writer, and Olivia we knew we were making something that wasn't going to be like anything else we had seen, and that's electric. You know what I mean? That's so exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Last question. 2 more? Okay, 2. Okay.
Specifically, I want to call out the fact that this movie is very inclusive, obviously, of the LGBT community. And I find that to be very heartwarming and helpful for somebody, obviously, in the queer community. And I kind of wanted to, like, ask, like, how does this kind of impact you as a person for both of you?
I mean, again, it really reminds me of why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. Getting to play a girl like Amy means so much to me. The reactions I'm getting already, you know, from girls coming up to me feeling so seen is really just, it like brings me to tears because I just feel so honored because of the work we put in. But I really just have to give it up to Olivia for, she didn't really want to put so much thought on making sure that we have gay characters in the movie or making sure that the film was diverse. She just hired the best people for the role. And I think that that's ultimately the most important thing to do.
Yeah, I think representation is so important, and not only for the people that might identify with the story, but maybe for their families who might not understand as well, or their communities. And I am incredibly moved by the film as well, because I'm also part of that community, and I think it's just so important. And also, there's an incredible, I don't want to give it away, but there's an incredible scene with Kaitlyn at the end of, towards the end of the film, that is a kind of her character having her first experience. And there's this incredible close-up that you'll see in like an hour and a half on Converse. And Kaitlyn's character, Amy, is trying to undo the Converse of the person she's hooking up with, and then trying to take off her pants. And honestly, like, we all wear Converse. Boys, girls, gender fluid, whoever you are. And so the way that Olivia captures just the anxiety and the excitement and the nervousness of teenage sexuality and those first experiences. It could be 2 boys having that scene. It's 2 girls in our film. It could be a guy and a girl. It could be 2 gender fluid people. It's just capturing that true universal emotion. But the fact that our film is doing it through a queer love story, I think is really, really powerful. And I'm really in awe of Kaitlyn's performance and the other girls in the film, and just really honored to be a part of telling that story.
Thank you.
Last question. One more.
Hi, my name is Bridget. Kaitlyn, I loved you in Short Term 12, and Beanie, I loved you in Lady Bird.
Oh my God. Short Term 12, I could talk about for 45 minutes.
Beanie and Lady Bird, though, I mean, what?
I love both of you. I'm like shaking right now, sorry.
I love your sweater.
I was just gonna say that.
Thank you. It's actually my little sister, so it's a little tight on me, but you know, it's okay.
Looks great.
So my question is, do either of you have a hard time leaving behind the characters you play?
Oh.
Well, the character I played in Short Term 12, I was like, all right, I'll see you next time. I think it depends on the character and the story. I think some are harder than others. I just did a Netflix show that was a very dark and heavy role that was emotionally draining, and I think those types of roles are very like invigorating, and you really feel like you're working your acting muscles. But I like a role like that, I was happy to leave it. But like,
I had a hard time leaving our dynamic behind.
Yeah,
I missed
for
her.
Booksmart, I really missed everything, like living with her, being with everybody, being with Olivia. I really missed it, actually.
I did.
We're together now, so.
Yeah, we're back. I had the immense privilege of doing Hello Dolly on Broadway for a year. And when you play a character and you wear that wig and the bustle and, you're in that for
How heavy was that thing?
25-pound dress.
Jesus Christ.
For a year. Dancing. And it was literally the best year I've ever had in my life. And I miss it every day. So leaving that show and the joy that show brought me behind was definitely hard, and sometimes I miss Minnie Faye. And so I think, especially with theater, the longevity of that, you played a character, you've been playing a character for 10 years. It becomes so a part of your day-to-day routine. It's like you kind of miss them even though they're you. But I think I'm not someone who's like at all method at all. So if I'm doing a really sad scene, I'll pop off and get a snack, have a little joke. I'm not someone that has to have a little joke. I am it spooks me out to stay in it. It's if I'm doing the scenes over there, beans over here, two very separate things.
You, Kaitlyn, are you more method, or you get kind of into your?
I would say I'm sort of like a snack in between as well.
Category snack in between method. Daniel Day-Lewis, snack in between.
No, I'd say that especially for dramatic roles, I don't think I would be I don't know, I think some actors do it very well.
Yeah, just not
I think,
mine.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
But yeah, live that way.
Yeah, I think in drama there always has to be some sort of light in there, so you have to sort of snack.
Okay, so wrapping up, what are we going to see you in next too? What are your next projects?
Oh, I'm first? I was readjusting. 3 days after we wrapped Booksmart, I was in Wolverhampton, England, doing the adaptation of Kaitlyn Moran's novel, How to Build a Girl. If you don't know her, she's a remarkable feminist British writer, very beloved in the UK. And it's loosely based on her life, so I'm playing a fictionalized version of her. But she's from Wolverhampton, England, which is the middle of the country. It's kind of often passed over, so it was a very difficult accent to learn. But it's this beautiful, really funny coming-of-age story loosely based on her life.
Right after we shot Booksmart, I was picked to do this project called Unbelievable, and it's like an unlimited series that's going to be on Netflix in the fall, and it stars Toni Collette and Merritt Wever. And yes, Toni Collette is actually the reason why I wanted to be an actress.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And I got to tell her that one day. I saw her in The Sixth Sense, and it was the first performance I had been because I had been watching Lizzie McGuire my entire life. And then I saw The Sixth Sense was the first movie that my parents allowed me to see. It was the rated R movie I was allowed to see, and her performance was just I was that's what I want to do. So I got to tell her that. But yeah, the project, I'm really, really excited about it. And I think it's a story about a girl who was accused of lying about being sexually assaulted. And I think it's a really, especially in these times right now, it's a very important story that I think should be told. And it's going to be really, really beautiful. I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. I could talk to you for a long time.
Long.
We have to go.
Thanks.